Welcome to the Higher Ed Retire Podcast with your host, Greg Shepard. Greg is a fee-only financial advisor who specializes in helping those in higher education to take control of their retirement. Since 2001, Greg has helped employees all over the country make the most of their retirement plans.
Hey folks, Greg Shepard here, Higher Ed Retire Podcast. As always, I really do appreciate you tuning in and listening to this silly little show I do about once a month or maybe a little bit more than that. And folks, actually it's turning into something more than just a little podcast. I'm very surprised and humbled by the amount of downloads, and I assume people are listening when they download it. So the numbers are good, and I'll continue doing this as long as you're listening out there. So for those of you that don't know me, again, name is Greg Shepard. I do have an independent, fee-only investment management firm here in Kansas City. And by the way, Kansas City, we've got about, I'm looking out the window, I'm in my basement today, I'd say 6 inches of snow. One of those days. So shout out to my friends, clients down in Tempe, Phoenix area. All right, you're probably not having much of this right now, but it's fun. We're going to get out later with my ATV and pull the kid behind it in a sled. Okay, that's what we do here in the Midwest when it's snowing 6 inches or more. All right, so let's move on. Again, independent investment management firm. I do specialize in helping those in higher education, been doing so for 20 years, navigate and just plainly get the most out of your retirement plan. So I know most retirement plans like the back of my hand. Now, today's topic, I'm going to bring up a topic that I discussed quite some time ago. I'm not sure how long ago, but I'm going to bring it to the forefront due to the fact that I've noticed in the last 12 months or so, there's been a lot more interest in investing. Maybe it has something to do with the COVID, stay-at-home thing where people are bored maybe and looking to invest. And the market's done well the last couple of years, not so much 2022, but 2020 after COVID and 2021. So that might be the catalyst. People thinking it's easy money, so they want to get on board with the investing thing. So there's been a lot of interest in BrokerageLink. I think I've reached a lot of people, and they have opened BrokerageLink accounts and started investing themselves, which is fantastic. So I've had a lot of questions regarding BrokerageLink and doing this on your own. So we're going to touch upon or bring back some of this information, and I'm going to expand on 3 reasons as to why I think you should at least look into it. It doesn't cost you to look into it, okay, folks? Just cost you a little bit of time. And as always, if you find yourself in the weeds during this podcast or any other podcasts, by the way, I have other informative podcasts on my website, www.safinancialservices.com. Go ahead and email me. You don't need to be a client of mine for me to help you out. My email is greg@shepardfinancial.com. Shepard is spelled Shepard. I'd give you my phone number, but nobody has ever called me from this podcast. So I think these days people would rather just email, which is perfectly fine with me. Okay, bringing back BrokerageLink here. The topic, 3 advantages. Let's kick it off here. Number 1, costs. Now, BrokerageLink will be different for everyone listening out there. Each higher ed university kind of institutes BrokerageLink differently. What I mean by that is, let's see here. Let's take, I'm in Kansas City here, so let's use the Missouri system. So I have a lot of clients in the Missouri system. There's 4 campuses. BrokerageLink to them is offered for newer employees in the 401A, 403B, and 457. For we'll call them quote-unquote older employees as defined by the university, the Board of Regents, not by me, you only have access to BrokerageLink in 403B and 457, okay? Down there in the Phoenix area, ASU, BrokerageLink in 401A, okay? That's the ORP. Folks over in the Kansas Board of Regents, all right? I got a couple campuses I deal with, Kansas State and KU, Kansas University. You have BrokerageLink on the voluntary side through TIAA. Most BrokerageLink accounts are through Fidelity, okay? So point is, make sure you know what you're talking about before you get into this. Feel free to email me, contact your vendor that heads up your retirement plan. They'll be able to answer any question that you have, most questions that you have, okay? But again, feel free to reach out to me as I am a resource for you. Okay, costs associated with BrokerageLink. Now, one downside I've heard about BrokerageLink, information given from reps from Fidelity and TIAA to employees of respective universities, is that there's a trading cost associated with BrokerageLink. That can be true. Okay, you can run into trading costs when you don't know what you're doing. All right, folks, I have never paid 1 cent for an investment through BrokerageLink. All right, it's very simple to find out which investments charge a fee and which do not. Again, contact me and I'd be more than happy to show you how to do this. Now, again, piggybacking on the costs. One thing you can do in the BrokerageLink that's very advantageous when it comes to costs is index-related investments. If you subscribe to the Jack Bogle Vanguard mantra of index-related investing and kind of that buy and hold, maybe reallocate every once in a while, man, BrokerageLink is where it's at, okay? I have a client that we, with the help of myself, we devised a portfolio where he's, a big Jack Bogle type guy, and he just wanted to crush his costs. He doesn't think actively managed mutual funds can beat the market, which I can tend to agree. Most of them do not. So he just wanted index-related investments, and we did that. Small, mid, large bonds. We've got index-related mutual funds. Crushed his costs down to something like 0.05%, something like that, and he's very content. But you have to know what you're doing. And it doesn't take a lot of time to figure this stuff out. You need to take control of your own retirement. The more knowledge you have, the better decisions you can make. So let's move on to the second advantage of BrokerageLink, and that's sector investing. I think, in my opinion, if I were in your shoes, this is my biggest advantage, best advantage when it comes to your retirement plan and how BrokerageLink fits into it. You can invest in just about any sector that you can think of. I mean, start rattling them off. Financials, technology, healthcare. You can even get down to subsectors, all right? In the financials, you can get regional banks, okay? So you can get pretty specific in your sector investing through BrokerageLink. But again, you need to know what you're doing. I wouldn't recommend you going out there and just doing this willy-nilly. If you do know what you're doing, fantastic. I've seen many people do it successfully. But I've also seen others get a little too, like going to the casino and not really understanding what's going on, all right? So you need to know what you're doing or have someone like myself help you out, which I'll talk about here in just a bit. So let me dive a little bit more into the sector. So again, we'll take these universities I mentioned earlier. So Missouri System, in BrokerageLink, newer employees actually have access to ETFs. Now, we don't have time or the desire to get into what an ETF is. You can go ahead and Google that and get all kinds of good information on that. I think that is a fantastic way, me personally, my opinion, for investing in certain sectors in an inexpensive way. Okay? So again, Missouri System, newer employees, you have access to ETFs. For those in the Missouri System that don't have access to ETFs, you can accomplish this through mutual funds. That's not a bad thing. It's just different, okay? Arizona, right? You folks down there in the warm weather, you have access to ETFs in your ORP, the 401A. Folks there in, who did I mention last? Kansas Board of Regents. So check this out. You have access to BrokerageLink through your TDA, your voluntary account, through TIAA, but only mutual funds. Okay, so there I went through 3 higher ed institutions, and I think there were 3 different ways to invest with BrokerageLink when it comes to sectors. Okay, some sectors you can accomplish through mutual fund investing, others you can get into ETFs, or a mixture of both. Okay, and again, it's not good or bad, it's just different. I would like to get into ETFs personally, so for those of you that have access to ETFs, I think that is an advantage you should take advantage of, okay? Well, actually, my third advantage here, moving on, hijacked my talking point for advantage 2 because I have written down here ETFs is the third advantage. Okay, the second advantage was sector investing. The first advantage was costs. So the third advantage, like I mentioned, was ETFs, which I just talked about. And I know there's a lot of words that I've said here, so it can get a little confusing, folks. Again, just reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to help you out. But let me transition a little bit into something I kind of touched upon earlier. You know, folks, doing it yourself. You are more than welcome, of course, to do it yourself if you know what you're doing. I've seen folks get into this that know what they're doing, and they do a fantastic job. Others, conversely, don't. Okay? So don't be, what's the word I'm looking for? Not misled, but don't be naive in thinking that you can just make an appointment with Fidelity and TIA reps, and they're going to help you out with choosing investments in BrokerageLink, okay? They're going to point you in the direction of BrokerageLink, but they are not your fiduciary advisor. They're not looking out. They don't by definition have to do what's in your best interest. Now, they're all good folks. Don't get me wrong, but they're not going to tell you to pick ABC ETF inside BrokerageLink. That ain't going to happen. So if you're not comfortable doing it on your own, folks, just get some help, okay? Folks like myself, independent advisors, we, in my opinion, the most I charge is 1%. Is that 1% worth it to you for someone that's been doing this for, in my case, 20 years to professionally help you out with a designed portfolio that fits your risk tolerance, and at the same time see if we can lower your investment costs? All right, to me it makes sense, but to a lot of folks out there, they like the DIY, do it yourself. Yep, DIY. And so no problem with that. Folks, reach out to me if you have any questions on this. I think this is a very important topic that I try to get out to as many people as I can, okay, folks? Once again, check out my website for more informative podcasts, www.SA Financial Services. And my email, feel free to reach out to me, greg@shepardfinancial.com. Shepard is SHEPARD. As always, folks, I appreciate it. So go out there and take control of your retirement today.
Thanks for listening to the Higher Ed Retire Podcast. Just because this episode is over doesn't mean you can't continue your retirement journey. Please visit www.higheredretire.com to see how you can work with Greg or to simply ask him a question. Thanks again.
S&A Financial Services is a registered investment advisor. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and/or tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed herein. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.